and welcome to the Leopard Spots podcast, presented by Fractional, a leading provider of risk and compliance services to fintechs, banks, and crypto firms. Join the founders, owners, investors, and senior executives as they dive deep into the world of business and entrepreneurship. Trust me, these guys have seen it all, and they're here to share their wisdom with you. So, let's get going. Please welcome your host, Ryan Simo.
Welcome back to the Leopard Spots podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Simo. It's been a while, so I appreciate you tuning in, and I'm really pleased to have our next guest with us, Mary Kate Loftus, who's the President of Impressia Bank. It's been a while.
It has.
Since we've seen each other.
Yes, it's so nice to see you.
It's nice to see you as well. So as always, this is brought to you by fractional.co. Check us out for any of your risk and compliance needs. We serve fintechs, banks, crypto firms, and private equity firms. And so I also will tell you, I'm in the midst of a 72-hour water fast. So if I pass out here, we've got able bodies here to help me out. So why I'm doing it, I have no idea other than to just do it.
You'll be well hydrated.
Yeah, exactly. Mary Kate said, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "I don't really know, to be honest with you." So, but it's great to see you again.
You too.
I think it goes back to, we met in 2018, I believe, at M&T Bank. Mm-hmm. And so I really want to take this conversation a bunch of different places. We'll start with your career, your background, and then we'll jump into Impressia Bank, how it got started, what it's all about, what you're doing there, the mission, all the things. We'll talk about women in leadership, certainly women in banking, and which is the primary focus of Impressia. We'll talk about lessons you've learned along the way and all those things. So, but first, let's give us your background. Tell us about, are you from Buffalo, how you got started in banking? Give us all those things.
Yeah, sure. Well, so happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love your studio. I love that we're broadcasting from downtown Buffalo
We
at the
are.
Beverly Grace Center. This is really cool. So yeah, I'm from Buffalo, lifelong, South Buffalo person. And, but I got my career in banking. I went to Binghamton for college and I started right at HSBC. I got hired right out of business school there. I had a wonderful career, really was able to learn a lot in both across the whole U.S. and internationally. I picked up a lot of experience in everything from like customer facing roles out in branches.
Oh, yeah.
I oversaw sales and service in the call center, which had responsibility for 5 international call centers at the time. So it was really cool. I got to like travel the world and meet people from around the world and see how we help so many different groups of people. It really changed my perspective on banking and financial services. Then I went on to M&T, where you and I crossed paths and had a wonderful experience there as well. Yep. And I led strategy for the bank as well as digital for 3 years. And then I had the opportunity to be able to learn about CNB Bank.
Yep.
So CNB Bank, I got a phone call and someone said, "Hey, have you ever heard about CNB?" And at the time I had said, "No, can you tell me more?" And they said, "Well, do you know Bank on Buffalo locally?" I said, "Of course I do, yeah." And they said, "Well, you won't believe it, but they're forming a new division that's going to be completely focused on women." And I said, "Oh my gosh, tell me more." And what happened was I went, and at the time, originally the role was supposed to be based in Cleveland to be the president of this new bank that was being formed. And I met I don't think I ever told you this story.
This is great.
This is a great story.
They're hearing it at the same time I am.
I know. So what happened was and I'll tell you about the forming and the background of how this came to be, but I met the Chief Commercial Banking Officer, Angela Wilcoxon, for the parent company, CNB, which is publicly traded. It's about now it's a $8 billion bank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, headquartered near your old
Clearfield, Pennsylvania.
That's right,
Yep.
Clearfield, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And I met Angie. And I said, "Oh my gosh, like this woman is amazing. Like she is just truly like somebody that I said I would love to learn from." And Carla Higgins, who's the bank's head of customer experience and employee experience. And from that moment on, it was like every person I met, I just said, "This is an amazing organization." So, but yeah, I can tell you a little bit about the founding of Impressia, because it's pretty interesting.
I'd love to do that. Before we get into that,
Yeah.
I just go back. So you've had this broad career. We had Rich Gold on the podcast, I think it was 3-4 months ago. He talked about, and obviously he played a lot of roles at the bank at the time. He was in sales, he managed the retail side of things. One of the things we'll get into is when you think about what you just went through, the jobs that you had across the different groups that you had, is there one job that sticks out to you that when you think about your job today, that probably is the stuff that you pull forward the most and use?
Oh my God, that is a fantastic question. And interestingly enough, when I was at an offsite last week, you know how there'll be like, bank, icebreakers as an offsite spot to get started. And the question was, what was the turning point in your career?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like, great question. But in terms of the role that best prepared me, I mean, I don't think there was a single role. I think every single opportunity and responsibility I've ever had, each gave me something that then is brought forward into this position. The, being the president of the bank means that it's the responsibility for the P&L function, for the customer experience, the strategy, the operations, the hiring and the people, like everything. So there is no, one role that said this gave me what I needed to have. It really was. And every single role usually had a leader that taught you, that teaches you something that then you say, oh, that's how I want to lead, or that's what I want to be able to bring forward. So I think it's a culmination of many.
Right. They either teach you what to do or what not to do.
Exactly.
I've learned that in my career.
Luckily, I've had more what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's good.
Sometimes they're equally as valuable as the what not to do.
Right.
One thing you glossed over, I want to highlight it though. In 2018, you were a finalist, I think for Digital Banker of the Year.
That's right.
Was that, I forget the publication, was it?
American Banker.
American Banker.
Yep.
So it was a great accolade, so I want to make sure we
thank you so much.
That. Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, okay. So now, CNB comes calling, you're meeting people, you're talking to them, and then the next thing you know, here you are, you're learning about it, and now you're there.
Yeah.
You're now the president of Impressia Bank. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about what it's all about, what you're doing, the growth that you've had, if you would.
Oh, yeah. So what happened was it's the most amazing story. And I actually have a goal that someday, like, how like in American Banker, they'll have like the best teams in banking. Yeah. I'm like, these people someday should all be together and win an award for what they were able to do. What happened was in around 2022-ish, I think it was early 2022, new CEO of CNB came in. His name's Mike Peduzzi. And he goes, they did like a listening tour, and he'd put forward a strategy of what he wanted to do with the bank. And as he's looking at this, he said, oh my gosh, this is really unusual for a regional community bank, such a high percentage of women in leadership that oversee functions. So what happened was the head of commercial banking, head of treasury management, head of bank operations, like I go down the road, they're all managed by women. But they looked at the book of business, and particularly the commercial book of business was not a proportionate amount. He said, gosh, there's this like growing wave of like women leading organizations. How come our relationships don't match that? So he asked the question, and then he asked Leanne. Leanne brought in Carla. Carla said, well, we got to have a whole bunch of people at the table to solve this. And what they ended up doing was they formed a steering committee. They did such a good job. They reported directly to the board of the bank. Okay. They said you can evaluate all the programs that are out there. So you could look at, many banks do great jobs of like, saying we're going to educate, inform, and have events. And instead what they did was they came up and they said, well, we've always done like a de novo bank strategy to go in new markets. And that's what they did locally in Bank on Buffalo in 2016. Why don't we do the same thing with Impressia Bank? So they said, we love it. Let's do it. So when I came to the bank, a lot of the like value proposition was already built out. They had listened to customers. They had said, this is what we're going to do. And what was neat was that you didn't have to. It's not like other startup banks go and raise capital, and then you got to take care of everything else. So instead, when the bank was formed, everything from what they're able to lend, everything's from the parent company, from CNB Bank. Okay. The call center's already in place. The digital and online's already in place. Right. So we didn't have to build that. All we really had to do was hire the right people and then go from there. So we started small. So we started in Erie, Pennsylvania. Sure. Which was cool. And then from Erie, we went to Cleveland. Yep. From there, we went to State College. Yep. From there, we went down to Columbus. Yep. And then Buffalo was actually our last area that we brought up. I was, yeah. Buffalo was the very last one. It wasn't until the beginning of 2024. Huh. And so just about a year ago. And then, and it just has taken off from there. So and I encourage people to go to the website, and we'll link to it and whatnot. But so, your whole team's there. Mm-hmm. All women, right? Well, primarily? That is such a great question. Yeah. So that's a question I got. I was telling some folks that we were going to be chatting. Yeah. And a couple of them said, so how does it work? Like what's the story? So yeah, no, great question. So one very important point is, we have a lot of products that were designed and inspired by women. Okay. But they're not exclusive too. So we have, I'd say just under probably half our book of business is men. Oh, wow. I know, and
So
nobody
I could bank there?
Yes, you can. Of course
cool.
you can.
All right, great.
And you're the compliance guy. You know this.
That's
so
true.
Of course,
That's right,
our doors are open to everybody.
That's
yes.
true.
And but what happened was that a lot of the solutions, even like male entrepreneurs or businesses that are like 50-50, they go, oh yeah, we want that. So, and then they say, oh, and you have a banker that I love. So the team, what happened was they had originally kind of said, this is what we think we need, a lead in every market.
Gotcha.
The intention is that each of those positions then grow into becoming true regional management leadership.
Sure, yeah.
So they're the head of that state, and then as we grow, they can build out a team around them. We do have men that support our customers. So although they're not, what we do is as we're growing, we have for each local bank division, and this is where it does get a little confusing.
Yeah, so the structure is,
Yeah, so picture CNB Bank is the parent company.
Okay.
Within every market, it's a very hyper-local strategy. So in Buffalo, it's called Bank on Buffalo.
Yep.
In Erie, Pennsylvania, it's called Erie Bank. So we actually are the same company operating under different names across multiple states.
Yep.
So the local people, so say like in Buffalo, we have a private banker named Joe. So when I have a client who has private banking needs, Joe helps him.
Okay.
So it's not just women that service our clients, which is the best. We just bring the best people for the job.
Right. So there must be like a targeted strategy though, to grow, to have the book of business be more reflective of.
Yeah.
Are there types of events that you run? Are you getting in front of different people? I mean, there must be some sort of strategy that has enabled you to get to that point.
That's right.
Okay.
There are, what we do is we understand that a lot of times women, and this is the thing where I say, you can't just say it's just women, because there's a lot of guys that say, hey, I love sitting and having a story.
Right.
So we'll have, we know a lot of women learn and like build trust by having conversations, and they like being together in groups. So we'll have, like at our offices in the Electric Tower in Buffalo, we'll have a coffee and conversation with a theme. Okay. Now what's interesting is, sometimes there's guys that show up too who are customers. They go, oh, I like today's topic. I wanted my coffee and donuts.
Sure,
I want to hang out with you guys. But so what we do is it's really focused. So sometimes we talk about leadership challenges that are unique to executive women. And the fact is that does happen still, and that there are unique challenges that are faced. Sometimes it's about balancing it all, because a lot of women are still taking care of their school-age children and their parents and their house. And we find it's interesting, like there's some parents like that are very involved, but then other times there's women that are carrying the load for the most part for their family. So what we do is we do a lot of times we found that our research has indicated that women are many, not I shouldn't say all, but like many, don't ever want to appear like they don't know the answers. So if they go to talk to a banker, particularly if they're coming for like, any lending capacity, they might not say that they don't know all the answers to the questions. Right. So they feel comfortable talking to somebody who they can say, listen, I'll be honest with you, this is how I see it. So all of our events are kind of tailored that way.
That's great though. So is there one thing that over the course of the last, year and a half or so, is there, well, let me fast forward. Let's say this, like aspirationally, where do you see it in the next 2 years, 3 years, the bank itself, but Impressia, CNB, all those things?
Right now I'd say primarily in Buffalo, Columbus, and Cleveland. Okay. Those are the markets that we see the greatest opportunity to grow. We are, whether it's nonprofits, it's emerging, growing women-owned businesses. It's a lot of times women executives who say, you know what, I just like the feel of banking with you, because it's kind of like what we've done is how like, and being a compliance person, you'll like appreciate this. You know how a lot of times there's like fraud protections, and they'll say the limit for mobile check deposit shall only ever be this amount. So what we do is we say, all right, we know who the person is. Well, if you call us up and say, listen, I got a check for $65,000-$70,000, I got to put it in. We'll say, no problem. We raise the limit. You put the check in, then we lower the limit again. And it's just the common sense, things like that.
It's also like small banks are more nimble. I mean, I think that's a great example, by the way. I think I vaguely remember back when I was doing the compliance side for the digital side of the bank, there was always an issue with the limit on what people could.
There's always, people want, and that's when you say like personalization. It's not saying, hi, Ryan. Instead, it's like, this is what Ryan actually needs. Right. And give you what you need.
Exactly. Yeah. No question about it.
So our ambition is we hired a phenomenal, and that's the thing, is like the talent we brought on is really, really good. So we hired in Columbus a phenomenal banker named Sabra Kershaw. Sabra has she's been in banking for, I'd say she's going to get mad at me if I say this. I'd say approaching 30 years. Okay. Where we all are.
Yeah, we all are there, yeah.
And she, but she's the kind of person where she just has such great relationships with like customers that she's like, okay, I'll find a way to make this work. And there's actually a cool story about how we got to meet her, but she, that's a great example of like, it's really about the people. So Columbus, we want to grow in Cleveland and Buffalo primarily. And then from there, we just keep learning and then we adapt as we go.
So just shifting a little bit, kind of back towards your career and things you're doing. What's the best piece of advice that you think you've ever received?
Oh my gosh.
That, maybe you use today or just in general. Yeah. Or maybe it's a piece of advice. Maybe it's just something you picked up on that you carry with you. Is there anything?
So funny because I was really excited. I was awarded the Business First, the Women of Influence for this year.
I saw it. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
That, yeah.
That's like one of these milestones.
Sure.
It is it's such an honor, and it's really not even when you hear that it's not about me, but it's about. I think it's like nice. It's wonderful for our bank and our organization. It's a really big deal. But they asked the same question, so I'll give you the preview of what I said.
Perfect.
And so,
see, I'm on the inside.
I was thinking about it, and you'll get a kick out of the story. But it actually was, and I don't know if he listens to your podcast. It was from Scott Vahue.
Oh, I know Scott.
Yes.
Oh, so Scott. Oh, he gave you this.
He gave me the advice.
Oh boy.
So the advice was he had said to me when he retired, we went out for a cup of coffee.
Great. Yeah.
And he said, my advice to you is, he talked about the heliotropic effect. You know what that is?
I think he's told me about this, actually.
Yes. And so the idea being, and his advice was, he said, like, for me, my natural disposition is I'm a cheerful person.
Sure.
And I like positivity.
Yeah.
I don't like I don't like negativity, to be honest with you. But that's where generally teams who are focused on the positive get outsized better results. And he said, you have to really be disciplined with yourself and those around you to be able to create that environment. And he said, you're lucky because you naturally are like that, but it's easy to allow behavior that's not like that to persist. And he said, as you go in your career, he said, Mary Kate, this is how the best service always happens, the happiest teams, the lowest turnover. And he said, just remember to follow that. And so that was my advice. And he gave it to me and I took it.
Well, no question about it. And he was probably the happiest person I ever met in my life.
And that's what he said. He said, why would you let in negativity? And now, funny story, I met Beth Hollis, who was the incoming successor to Scott Beeler at Westher. And when I went to visit their offices, you know what she gave me? A book about the heliotropic effect. And she said it's the mantra of Westher.
Well, then we'll have to plug the show notes on that one too.
Yes, the heliotropic effect.
The heliotropic effect. That's wild. Yeah, I do remember him saying that one time when I was talking to him. So you had said about your advice 15 years ago would be different. Yeah. And I was just saying how I think advice 5 years ago would be different because of COVID. I mean, just fundamentally, I talked to Rich about this too. It fundamentally changed how people not only did work, obviously home versus in the office, but I think it changed the mentality of a lot of people. Yeah. Because the flexibility led to other opportunities.
I completely
whether it's
agree.
Freelancing or having a second or third job or whatever the case was. Do you see, as you interview people, you've seen that shift, obviously, I would assume.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it pose business challenges or not really with the model that you have?
Well, that's a good question. I think in terms of business challenges for leading the team, I don't think so because the way I lead, it's not like it's like you know what I mean?
You do your job.
Exactly, exactly. And I think people having the freedom and flexibility, like, it's just, you have to trust people. And especially, like, one of the members on my team right now, Jen, she's 2 little girls, and just say, it's summer camp drop off, and go get it done. Like, so I think that flexibility mindset was there before, but now it's just, you wouldn't want to behave any other way.
I was always, and I think, in some ways, not only COVID, but just in general, I always was amazed, like the example you just gave, of people that are in leadership positions that don't get that part. Yeah. You get more, more bees with honey. Right. And you just kind of brought up something that I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were telling me about a situation where they had to go drop somebody off, and their manager was giving them heck about it. It's just like, what in the world? Yeah. Maybe 10 years ago, not that it was right, but that's just the way it was. Right. Everything's changed now. People have options. Totally. So, I don't even with all the push in some organizations that come back, I can't imagine it's going to be sustainable. I was listening this morning to CNBC when I was out for a run, and I got a kick out of it. They were talking about Microsoft. They just issued their return to office policy. I thought, how the hell long has this been going on? I mean, so they said effective January 2026. I said, this is crazy how they're still trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
But
there is something important about like person to person. You and I are not on a screen right now.
Right. Exactly.
We're together.
Exactly.
And I think that's important, but I think it's just the right place, right time, right reason.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the industry just a little bit. Obviously, you've spent time at HSBC, M&T. Now you're in a $8 billion bank is not small.
No.
But smaller size wise.
Right.
What are the big differences, both as an employee? In those two environments, I guess is the first question I have for you.
I think it is I even like hesitate as I'm saying this. There truly is where every single person literally knows like every single person. Yeah. And it becomes what that creates when you're smaller is like the best institutions, even if you're super big, there's a culture of respect for other people and the norms in which you behave. But I think in a smaller institution, like I never see nobody comes late to a meeting. If it's 2:01 and you're not there, they must be like, "Are she okay? Like, why is she not here yet?" Right. Nobody wanders in late. You generally don't see people like multitasking and not paying attention. Like it's very much about like respect, politeness, doing, you know what I mean, like that sort of thing. So I think that to me that's a really big difference. And there's small ways that the organization shows they care, like because it's small enough. Like one of the girls on the team, her daughter had a medical issue back like 6 months ago, something like that. The CEO found out about it, sent her a private note and said, "I just want to let you know, I hope your little girl's doing better. I heard she's out of the hospital." And like those little touches, and not that doesn't happen in a big organization, because I've seen it. It absolutely does. Yeah. But I think that there truly is a really nice nice collegial atmosphere that is very important to the culture.
Yep. Industry-wise, I mean, just in terms of what have you seen in the last? I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and when you think about demand for the small businesses that you deal with, have you seen any shift in that? Just in terms of what customers are asking for, are they slowing down? Are they picking up? Have you seen any insight?
What I observe is that where a lot of, like a lot of financial institutions did a lot of like cost reduction exercises and they changed staffing levels and, various changes were made.
Sure.
I think a lot of customers, they were comfortable with people and then those people are gone or they were transferred to another area or whatever it might be. And what I hear is that they say, well, nobody calls me, nobody knows me. Right. Even if they're getting emails and like different types of communications, it's not the same. So I think that there is, again, like kind of like to be honest, I think there's like a bit of a distrust with like financial institutions. I hear a lot. And that I think is a shift. I feel like that wasn't that way before. And especially coming out of COVID, there was a ton of loyalty to banks. Remember, people were like, oh, you showed up for me during PPP, so I will be loyal to you forever. Yeah. I feel like some of that goodwill has ebbed a bit. So I think that that's one thing. And I think that in terms of what banks offer, I think customers, it's not everybody, because there's still people that think of banks as commodities, so they don't, it's just move my money in and out, and I don't think it's worth anything else. Yep. For the people who do care, they look for, they really want advice. People are concerned about the future. They want to have a partner that says, I'll hold your hand through the ups and downs and do the best I can for you. So.
Gotcha. One of the things when I looked at the website in advance of this, there was a really interesting sentence or so, and I'll probably get it wrong, but you can. Yeah. And it talks about the bank, and it says some people would call it financial feminism, but we call it common sense.
Yes.
Talk about that. I mean, it was an interesting line. It just grabbed me.
I wrote it.
Oh, you wrote that? Okay, well there you go. Perfect. Well, I read it. There you go. You wrote it. I read it.
Yeah. Well, and I think. The reason is like financial feminism. So there's been a lot over the last few years where particularly, women would say like, hey, like I want the attention and I want some extra help. But I don't even think it's about, I think it's just like I said, common sense. We designed like the vision of the bank is to redefine the banker-client relationship. And that is born from Angie, who I, that had commercial banking for us. She came from a very large super regional bank, and she had told me, she's like, I was talking to some customers. So picture Angie's risen through the ranks, overseeing large commercial teams across many regions. And she talked to an old customer, and they said something about like, there's just no relationship anymore. Like when you managed my accounts back in the day, I felt there was a relationship. I think that's gone. And so for her, like what she had said was, she said, I think there's such an opportunity. People want relationships. And so we tried to make it where like the relationship's at the center of everything. And that has been, I think that's the differentiator. So back to going to your question about common sense, it's common sense. Like when I tell you that story, it's not like this is rocket science. Right. It's like, she just said, let's do it the way it should have been done correctly all along. So that's why it's common sense. Well,
I read that line. I thought I'd ask her about that one.
Yeah.
No, in banking in general is obviously blocking and tackling, or whatever you want to call it. It's a contact sport.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And sometimes it seems like it gets overdone. And which actually leads to my next question. You spent obviously a number of years in digital banking, what we call digital banking, but a customer would see it as they pick up their phone and what's the show. This is just not necessarily relative to Impressia or CNB, but just using your experiences, what do you see happening over the next several years on the digital side, of the tech side of banking? Maybe it's stuff that you're doing, or maybe it's stuff that you're seeing as you go to conferences or things of that sort.
It's everything is in service of time.
Okay.
Like everything, like that's the only thing, what I always hear and what I believe we're like going toward is that if something's not going to save you time, like that's, all of that is in service of giving people that ease. So I think it's just going to be continued simplification. I think it's actually going to be less bells and whistles, but just do, like you said, the basics of blocking and tackling and do it really, really well. And that to me is where it's just going to continuing to come together to that place. And people want the optionality of doing it the way they want to do it. Like and as long as there's that capability of saying, this is what I need and this is the experience I want, and a bank can do that for them, like that's all that really matters. Yeah,
it's interesting too, because you have a lot of these, and our clients are these non-bank financial institutions, these fintechs effectively, who need a bank in order to do business.
Right.
But it strikes me that you're going to see mid-sized banks say, I'd rather just buy this functionality than create it myself.
So, yeah, big time. And I think that the like this is like how at CNB it's done, and I think it's the right way to go. Complete lack of customization. Everything is like simplify it, take the bare basics, and then you wrap everything around it. And then the other interesting point is, like you talked about, like the nimbleness of being smaller. So when I really understood what CNB had to offer, and I was saying this at the offsite last week, it is best in class for any financial institution suite of like platform products that the bank has. It's everything from it's like Salesforce to like the digital originations capabilities to Encino to, I mean, and you'd be shocked. You'd say, how is all that available? Black Knight, or now they have a new name, Dark Knight, right? So it's called Dark Matter. Dark Matter.
Is that the mortgage platform?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So for home equities and mortgages, like we have the full digital capabilities. But everything you could do, everything's DocuSign. Like, so a lot of our customers, they say, oh, well, you're a remote digital bank. A lot of our customers, like the customer that's across the hall, I was telling you, they are our client, but they don't have a need to go into a bank. So we do everything DocuSign. Everything. Like, why would we make you come into the bank to do something? It's like, okay, no problem. We'll text this off to you. Can you sign it and send it back? So I think that the trend is that those capabilities to create efficiencies are there, and it's just the best banks are the ones that are going to be able to say, I can extract the value out of it, and then be able to grow organically, leveraging them. That's the key, and it just takes smart people that are able to kind of like be free to go put it in place.
Absolutely. Speaking of the technology, one of the things I've seen and had some clients in this regard, you have some call them fintechs, but they're basically buying a one branch bank somewhere in California. And using the charter. And then just starting over from scratch, developing the foundation, the tech foundation, so that they don't run into a situation where you've got this like tech debt stacked on top of each other. And then you can't customize because you're creating a mess. So
I mean, and I think something really important that probably doesn't get talked about a lot is those fintechs or startups or whatever, however you want to call them, are they being really intentional with what they're getting into and who their partners are?
Sure.
So like the importance of working with a well-capitalized bank.
Yeah.
Because you look at there's been recent examples of choices that then had major ramifications. So I think that that really saying like, is this a well-capitalized, well-run bank, and who do they want to use?
I don't know if CNB does anything on the fintech side, sponsor bank side. I'm not sure, but
I mean, not so much in the. But I do think like if there were. I would just leave it as not so much right now, but I think that it's the right question, that fintechs should get the right guidance on like who should your banking partner be.
No question. And most of them deal with these 10 billion and under banks. That's generally the sweet spot. And if we've learned anything, redundancy in bank relationships, partnerships that fintechs have is really important because as you were alluding to, there's been a couple high profile just collapses of these sponsor banks. Money gets tied up, customers can't get to it. It's a mess. You got ledgering issues, you've got a whole bunch of stuff. So there's no.
So that's why you need a really good compliance partner.
That was exactly why you need a great compliance partner. I've got somebody you can go to, fractional.co. No, but I think that's really true. And so what we guide our clients on is don't just look for one bank. Try to get two.
Right.
And you may do 70% of your business through 130 or whatever it may be. Could be 90-10, could be 50-50. But and I know of a fintech, unfortunately for them, they were actually one of the earliest to the crypto game that actually had on-ramps and off-ramps for like fiat currency and things of that sort. And unfortunately for them, right when all of this stuff was taking off in a positive way for the crypto or stablecoin industry, they were done because all their funds were tied up in one of the failures. And they're not to be anymore. Right. So they missed their moment. No problem, no fault of theirs. But so your point is
timing is really important.
Timing is very important.
The other thing too is there's a company in Buffalo that's completing a raise, and I was talking to the founder, and he doesn't have yet, the funds aren't there yet. I said to him, you have to sit down. So like at the time I introduced him to Courtney Schaefer, and she's our head of treasury management, and she said, and I said, you have to sit with her because you have to understand how all this money should be moved, managed. Like think ahead before you need to do it. And then when it comes, then you can say, okay, I kind of have a plan, or I know the right questions to ask, but what I see is people waiting. They don't realize that you need to have a little bit of a runway there.
No question about it. So as we kind of come in for a landing on this, one of the things that strikes me when you think about like the work that you're doing, but your day to day, I'd love to know just a little bit about, because I see on LinkedIn, I mean, you're everywhere.
I'm in Cleveland.
You're everywhere.
I'm heading to Cleveland and Columbus next week.
Oh, you're like great cities, by the way. What's a day in the life of Mary Kate? What are you doing? And
cool.
There's probably a ton of outreach, right? Community outreach and things.
Yeah, there's if it's a day like today, right? I'm here in Buffalo. We have the most gorgeous offices.
You're at the Electric Tower.
We're at the Electric Tower, 8th
beautiful
floor.
Building.
It's got panoramic views of the lake and the city. Absolutely beautiful. And we set it up. It was designed as they said, well, what are you going to use the space for? And this is our U.S. headquarters. We said, what do you use the space for? And we said, we're going to convene conversations. So everything is like very, very intentionally like where it is. So anyway, last night, Lauren did a joined up event with a payroll company and Brock Schechter Polikoff here in Buffalo. Brought in, I think it was like 30 women showed up. Oh, wow. And just did like a conversation. Yeah. They gave some advice. Everyone was there. This morning I came in, we set up, we do our remote every Friday. I got a remote video call with my team, and they're all across different locations. We, it's very important to like keep those touch points. And the team works very collaboratively together, which is awesome. And, then from there, a bunch of one-on-ones. Out to lunch with one of our advisory board members, Marnie Levine. So I went out to lunch with Marnie, and heading back to the office. And then next week, we're going to be with some banks that we're hoping to do participations with down in Columbus. We've got some clients that we've onboarded that are large entities that were former clients of Sabra's that we're starting to work with. Great. And Yeah, so we're really excited about that. And then going on, we're going to entertain clients at Tennis in the Land in Cleveland on Tuesday night.
Jeez.
I know, right?
Man,
so that's like a day in the life. And then it's really, and it's also talking to customers. And I will say day in the life, like I'll get texts because a lot of them, I message with directly. So they'll send a text and say, ask a question, I'll write them back.
That's great.
I know, it's really, really fun.
And a little bit of golf too, right?
And a little bit of golf. I love to squeezing around here or there. I took former team members from when I was at HSBC. We went golfing last week Thursday, and
we'll have to go out, by the way.
I would love that. I would love that. Yep. And some of our Lancaster membership. So
I do.
Yep. And but no, and it's hard work. I will tell you, it is roll up your sleeves.
Yep.
We are running and growing the business, and it's a blast, but it's an enormous, more work than I've ever done my entire life.
Yeah,
without a doubt. But really impactful. And I just came back. I told you I was in an offsite with CNB Bank. Yeah. So it was our whole executive leadership team was down in Virginia for 3 days and really working on like the 2026 plan, where we need to go. So I'm proud to be part of that team. I have a lot to learn. It's a lot to learn and to be able to do well. So, but just kind of working through it.
That's great. Well, that's a great spot to end.
Oh, this was great.
This was awesome. No, I really appreciate you coming in and talking through all this stuff. And we'll keep following and seeing what's going on. We'll link to a bunch of the things in our show notes. And so obviously encourage people to go take a look at it.
Yeah.
Go take a look at the website. And if you're here in Buffalo and you need something.
Everywhere, yeah.
If you need compliance, call me. If you need anything else, call me.
And I'll be referring our customers to you as
Perfect.
well, for sure. Because those needs are those.
Oh, they're real.
They are real.
They're real. Yeah. Certainly in any industry, they're real. But certainly the stuff that we talked about. So, well, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Ryan.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Leopard Spots podcast. If you liked what you heard, then be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating, and visit our website at fractional.co. As a founder, a senior leader at Fortune 500 companies, and executive at high-growth fintechs, Ryan loves to talk business and share these stories with you. That's all for now, folks. Catch you next time on the Leopard Spots podcast.